Nobel Peace Prize and the reaction to it. It began with a gasp in Oslo, Norway, when the prize was announced.
Nobels fredspris for 2009 skal tildeles president Barack Obama for hans ekstraordinære innsats.
When news spread in America, there was surprise and joy, and especially among conservative TV and radio talkers, there was outrage.
Liberal sellouts get this prize. George Bush liberates 50 million Muslims. Ronald Reagan liberates hundreds of millions of Europeans, saves parts of Latin America. Any awards? No, just derision. Obama gives speeches trashing his own country, and he gets a prize for it. And this fully exposes, folks, the illusion that is Obama. This is a greater embarrassment than losing the Olympics bid was.
There was more from where that came from. Also, plenty of legitimately tough questions from the right and left. Now, we don't take sides in this program. You can make up your own mind about what you think about the president getting the award. We'll have a four-way discussion in a moment to debate the case. But first up, President Obama's reaction today. Tom Foreman has more.
Even as he negotiates a new plan for Afghanistan, grapples with the nuclear ambitions of Iran, and stares down the North Koreans, President Obama is playing down his new title of top peacemaker, and fast.
I do not feel that I deserve to be in the company of so many of the transformative figures who've been honored by this prize.
He's not alone.
I don't believe this.
Mahatma Gandhi never got a Nobel Peace Prize.
It is such a joke.
The airwaves and internet are in open battle over how he made it onto the nomination list 11 days after inauguration, then was picked over 200 others. From the head of the Republican National Committee, what has President Obama actually accomplished? Democrats hit back, comparing the RNC to Hamas and the Taliban, which also criticized the Nobel choice. And the president's fans rallied too.
At the end of the day, I think part of the reason was because he inspired many people around the world to want to make change and make peace.
The Nobel Committee says that's precisely it. The president has given hope to the world for better relations and fewer nuclear arms, and he's gone beyond some of his recent predecessors in reaching out to Muslim countries.
I've come here to Cairo to seek a new beginning.
I think it's a good start, really. I think he deserves it.
But the award is still a shocker for many. Despite all the opinions, there is genuine danger lurking here. The president has launched such ambitious plans for improving world relations. Even some supporters fear that this raises expectations far too high. Aaron David Miller is a former advisor to 6 secretaries of state, now an author at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars.
The Europeans really wanted to help him. They'd put more troops in Afghanistan. The Chinese and the Russians would help us deliver a serious set of sanctions against Iran. I'm not sure they helped him here.
They fear the trophy he's been given may prove a heavy burden in a long, hard run to better days. Anderson?
As you saw a moment ago, the announcement briefly left people at a loss for words, but not for long. Continuing the conversation with us tonight, Fareed Zakaria, host Paul Begala. It was on the radio, on television. Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, and others have gone ballistic over this.
Yeah, and that's kind of a shame. I don't expect much from those guys, but this is, I guess, even for me, a little surprising. Mr. Limbaugh said today, and I wrote it down, I'm on the same side as the Taliban. Well, okay, if you want to be, Rush, but I don't, and most Americans don't. I think David's right. I think a lot of people are very surprised. I think most Americans, frankly, would have rather had their president win the Nobel Prize for Economics rather than peace. I think it actually, as a political matter, frankly, I think it kind of complicates his work here at home, makes it a little harder because expectations will be all that much higher. I think it might actually help around the world a bit because anything that boosts America's stature in the world is a good thing, but actually, just as a political consultant, I think it can be a complicating factor here at home.
I don't think anybody saw this coming, least of all the president. It was controversial, to say the least. And again, it's always been. Yasser Arafat was honored with the Peace Prize. Gandhi never was. Controversy this time over the president's slim accomplishments, say some, something he acknowledged today.
And I know that throughout history, the Nobel Peace Prize has not just been used to honor specific achievement, it's also been used as a means to give momentum to a set of causes. And that is why I will accept this award as a call to action a call for all nations to confront the common challenges of the 21st century.
Nationally, people don't seem so surprised, but here in the United States, a lot more people seem surprised. Are Americans underestimating the impact President Obama has had internationally?
I think so, and I think in a sense it's an award to the United States more than it is to Obama personally. It's an award to the United States for re-engaging with the world, for casting away, if you will, 8 years of George Bush, and really to Obama personally for sticking with what he campaigned on, which was a new start in the war on terror, on issues like torture, the Geneva Conventions, or winding down the Iraq War, reaching out to the Muslim world.
Is it political in the sense of being, you said, a repudiation of the 8 years under President Bush? Is it political in that sense?
Absolutely.
Do you think this is a slap in the face, President Bush?
Absolutely. Anderson, to your original point, in 2008, the President of the United States' approval rating in Great Britain, our closest ally, very tough country, fights with us in every war, was 17%. It is currently 82%. It's actually higher in France and Germany. So there is a sea change, and some of it is Obama and his star power, but a lot of it is that I think there's a real yearning in the world for a United States that is more willing to engage with the world, that doesn't bully, that doesn't think it's, you know, it has the answer to every problem in the world. And the fact that Obama represents this means he becomes the repository of this view.
Let's talk about the impact internationally. Niall, I mean, about that, does this help internationally?
I do. I think it does. Frankly, it's kind of a cheap shot to say, oh, it's American Idol. No. Actually, this president, and he said it today, he said some very tough things today, took very thinly veiled shots at the Burmese dictatorship in Myanmar, took a very thinly veiled shot at the Iranian dictatorship in Tehran. He has used deadly force and is stepping it up in the tribal regions in Pakistan and, of course, in Afghanistan, where he's pondering a major troop increase after already sending 17,000 more. He's done some very tough things, and it's not about popularity, I don't think at all. I think it's about respect. And George W. Bush was not respected in the world.
David, internationally, do you think this helps the president moving forward?
But I think these people would criticize Obama no matter what he did. I mean, the idea that Rush Limbaugh is going to criticize this award and that this should come as a surprise is absurd. I mean, these are outrage machines. They're sitting there every day praying, you know, for something that they can get worked up about and rile up this small audience. This is, you know, this is like manna from heaven for them. I think that there's actually something to what Niall is saying in the sense that
you agree that he's a weak leader?
No, that the award was given because he's a different kind of leader. Obama is making a pretty bold gamble here, which is that it is possible for an American president to talk about cooperation, multilateralism, engaging with the world, and show Americans that this is a sign of strength, that it is a way to solve common international problems. For 30 years, roughly since Vietnam, it has been political suicide to do that, and that's why Democrats have tended to always pretend to be very tough or be very tough or, you know, sound very tough. It has always been a hawkish definition of what it meant to be a strong international leader. Obama is trying to change the terms of that debate, and in doing that, the Nobel Committee is, I think, rewarding him. I happen to think that you can't solve most of the global problems we face right now without a lot of international cooperation. We're in a different world, but it's a bet, and Obama, it may turn out that you know, the American public is turned off.
It's a risky bet, David.
It's never great to be popular in France.
Well, you might be wondering why no matter who gets it and why, you might be wondering how they get it. How does the process for a Nobel Peace Prize actually work? But here's the raw data. First, you have to be nominated. Deadline this year, February 1st, is 12 days after President Obama took office. No one can self-nominate. Instead, the nominations can only be made by a set group of people that includes members of national governments, academia, and previous laureates. This year, the committee, which is appointed by the Norwegian Parliament, received a record 205 nominations, 172 people, 33 organizations. The committee met 6 or 7 times to narrow that list down, did not make its final choice until this past Monday. As for the other nominees, their names will be kept secret until 2059.